Hi, this is the third part of overhead costing chapter. So in this video, I'm going to cover different scenarios to find OAR and absorbed overheads. Therefore, I won't have the overheads analysis sheet. I'm going to give the value from the overheads analysis sheet after reapportionment. From that, I'm going to calculate OAR for different scenarios. After 4 different scenarios, then we'll have the summary of the chapter. So now I'm going to have the first scenario, right? Right. So the first scenario, the requirements are production overheads absorption rate for 2 departments. So we should know that one department should have only one basis and only one OAR. Right. The second question is cost of production of A product. So therefore there is a product called A, and the total cost. So total cost means what? It includes all the cost related to the product, like it includes production cost and the non-production cost as well. So the first question is OAR, which is overhead absorption rate. Budgeted fixed production overheads after reapportionment is given for cutting department and the finishing department. So how they got it? So this is from the overheads analysis sheet. Fine. We have 2 departments. Sometimes you would have had 3 departments like service as well. So they did the reapportionment. Therefore, we are having the balance for 2 production department, which is 780,000 for the cutting department and the 600,000 for the finishing department. What is the important point when you are getting the value from the overheads analysis sheet? When you are doing the overheads analysis sheet in 1000, and when you are doing the calculations, you have to put 3 zeros again. So that is important when you are doing the OAR calculation. Right. So in this question, they gave the correct value, which is 780,000 and 600,000. And then they gave the budgeted information. Direct labor hours is given. So those are budgeted information again. Machine hours are given for cutting department, the finishing department. So production overheads are absorbed based on the direct labor hours in cutting department and machine hours in the finishing department. So first one, cutting department, right, based on what? Direct labor hour, right. So equation is what? OAR equals to budgeted fixed production overhead divided by budgeted direct labor hours. So these are total budgeted, actually total fixed production overheads and budgeted total direct labor hours. So in this question, they gave the total, which is 52,000 for cutting department, and budgeted fixed production overheads is 780,000 divided by 50. So how much? 15 rupees per direct labor hour. 15 rupees is fine, but if you are going to write the exact correct answer, you have to say per direct labor hour, right? Then second department, which is what you call finishing department, that is based on machine hours. So what is the equation? Budgeted FPOH divided by budgeted machine hours. So budgeted fixed production hours is given, which is 600,000 divided by hours. How much for finishing department machine hours, which is 20,000. So 30 per machine hour, right? So that is the answer for the first requirement. The question is what? Overhead absorption rate. And the second question is the cost of the production for product A. So if you read the question, they have only one product. So once we done with the OAR, what is your next step? So even they ask you to find the cost of the production, what is your next step? To find the absorbed overheads. For that, what we have working. What is our working? So we have working like this, right? So OAR which is cutting department and finishing. I got 15 here and I got 30 here, right? So these are the OAR for the departments. Then I divide this into products. So in this question we have only one product, therefore I'll directly show only one line here like this, right? So product A we have. So cutting department, did they give how many hours they needed to make the product? They said they need 3 direct labor hours in cutting department, right? So into 3, and this is into, they gave 5 machine hours is needed in finishing department. So what is this? This is actual hours. So your absorbed overhead is 45 and how much? 150, right? So this is the working. So this is not the answer. I am just doing the working to find the absorbed overheads. You don't have to write what these are, because it's just a working. No one going to give the marks for this, right? So you just need to find it. I'm just writing this because to make you understand what it is, right? Fine. So second question is cost of production. Cost of production mean what? The production cost. Production cost includes what? The prime cost and the production overhead, right? So I'm going to find it. Second question. So why I did this working? Obviously, even whatever they ask, even they ask you to find or you go cost of production or total cost, your step after the OAR is to find absorbed overheads. It is not must for them to ask you to ask as a requirement to find the absorbed overheads, because for the second question you should show absorbed overheads, right? So this is the working you should always do after you got the OAR value amount, right? Fine. So second one is cost of production. So I'll write here product A because we have only one product. So cost of production includes like production cost. So it includes the prime cost and the overheads. For overheads only we are doing the work, and we found 45 and 150 are the overheads from 2 departments, right? So direct material is given 180, direct labor is given 240. So there's no other direct cost. So this is 420. So 420 is what? Prime cost. With prime cost we have to add absorbed overheads. So absorbed overheads we do have 2. First one is from cutting department and the second one is finishing, right? So that is a working. So you have to show something here because you can't just put 45, because no one will check your working and give the marks, right? So I have to write how I found it. I would say 3 into 45 and I would say 5 into the 30, right? And 45, then 1. So 615, right? So that is the answer for the second question. So working is important. To find the answer, then you had to apply that answer for the requirement. Third requirement is total cost at 1000 units. So I found production cost, right? 615 is the production cost for a unit. The question is total cost. So what I supposed to do is I have to say my total production cost is 615,000. How? 615 per unit. They mention they are producing 1000 units, right, in the requirement. So total production cost is 615,000. Then non-production. So I put non-production. So non-production we have 2 in the question. They gave fixed cost, fixed non-production, and variable non-production. So fixed cost is given 60,000 and variable they gave 40. So 40 for 1 unit, because variable cost per unit they gave, right? So 40 means what? 40 into 1000, 40,000. So total is 715,000. So if they ask you what is the unit total cost, right? What is the cost per unit, not production, like total cost per unit is how much? 715,000. Then you had divide by 1000 if they ask there. But the requirement is what? At 1000 units, what is the total cost? So total cost is how much? 715,000. So this is the understanding you should have, right? So if I draw this again, I divide the cost into production, non-production. Production we have variable and fixed. Non-production again we have variable and fixed. In this question, variable is what? Which are variable? Direct material and direct labor. So that is fine. Did they give this? Yes. Did they give this? Yes. Non-production, fixed and variable are given. So we have the issue with this, right? So for that one, what we did? We did always analysis sheet. From that we found the amount. Then we did the OAR calculation. Then absorbed overhead calculation. Then we found per unit, found for a unit. Then we get the answer. So this is the entire thing what we are doing actually, right? We are trying to find the cost, the total cost, production cost and the total cost, right? So I would say this as what? Total cost. Right. The second scenario, the requirements are again same, overheads absorption rate and the cost of production, total production cost, right, for a unit, not the total cost, right? So this question is based on direct material cost basis and the prime cost basis, which is very rarely they test. Generally they use what? Normally in question they use direct labor hours and machine hour basis, but I just gave this question to understand how to do the other methods as well, right? Fine. So OAR is the first question. We have two departments, cutting and finishing. So in cutting department they mentioned they use direct material percentage and here they used prime cost percentage, right? So what is the equation? Budgeted FPOH, which is fixed production overhead, divided by budgeted direct material cost into 100. This one, budgeted FPOH divided by budgeted prime cost into 100. Fine. So what is the budget of fixed production overhead? They gave it. First one is 900,000 and second one is 450,000. This one you normally get from the always analysis sheet, right? Then you have to use the budgeted direct material cost for the cutting department, because we are finding for cutting department. So for cutting department, what is my direct material cost, right? It is based on department, not based on the product. So you can't add both departments direct material cost, because I am finding for the cutting department only, right? This is the cutting department only based on the direct material. So what is the direct material they gave? Budget direct material they gave for 50,000 into 100, we got 200%. And second one, budgeted prime cost. So what is the budgeted prime cost for the finishing department? So they didn't give that, right? They didn't give the prime cost, but they gave direct material, budgeted direct material and the budgeted labor cost. So if they don't say anything about budgeted, or if they don't say anything about direct other cost, it means there's no direct other cost, right? So in this question I would say 400,000 plus 500,000 is my prime cost for the finishing department, right? So this is, I would say, 400,000 plus 500,000 into 100. We get something called 50%. So what does 200% and 50% mean? In cutting department, 200% of direct material is your fixed production, or is your absorbed overhead. Then in finishing department, 50% of your prime cost of the product will be your absorbed overheads, right? So I'll put the working again. OAR 200% for first department, 50% for second department. This is cutting and this is finishing, right? Into actual value. So first department, my actual what I need is direct material. So actual is 180, and here 420. Why 420? What I need here in this example, so second finishing department is based on the prime cost. So I need the actual prime cost. So I have direct material cost 180 and direct labor cost 240. So total prime cost, actual prime cost is 420. So what is my absorbed now? Absorbed overhead. 200% of 180, which is 360. 50% of 420, which is 210. Right? 5. We have only one product, 2 departments. Therefore, my absorbed overheads we have 2 into 1, 2. Right. So the second question, which is cost of the production. So production cost again. So product A, they gave direct material 180, they gave direct labor 240. So your prime cost is how much? 420 prime cost. This is the working for the overheads part. So even though they said on like 200% and 50%, again we are trying to calculate the overheads, right? So it is just a percentage, we got it, right? And we are finding this part always, right? So I would say absorbed overheads. First department is what? Cutting. How to find? 200% of 180. So I already found it, which is 360. Then finishing, 50% of 420, which is 210. So 990 is the what? Is what? The production cost for a unit. Production cost for 1 unit. Fine. So in this kind of scenarios, like based on direct material cost percentage or prime cost percentage, they haven't checked, they haven't tested like for last 15 years of paper. But in MCQ they can test this, or in part also they can test, but until now they haven't tested this, right? Therefore, you should understand, at least you should have one question, one scenario to, find the answer, right? So that is why I am having a scenario for the other methods as well. Clear? Third scenario. Again, question is production overhead absorption, which is OAR for 2 departments, and cost of production for a unit, a product, like, right? They are producing only one product. Fine. So OAR, cutting department and finishing. So cutting department is based on labor hour, direct labor hour, right? Direct labor hour, and this one is based on machine hour. So equation is budgeted fixed production overhead divided by budgeted direct labor hours. This one budgeted fixed production overhead for the finishing department and budgeted machine hours. So what is the budgeted fixed production overhead? It is 500,000 and here it is 300. Fine. So we have to find the direct labor hours for cutting department, right? Because cutting department is based on direct labor hours. So what is the budgeted direct labor hours? So in the table they gave 20 direct labor hours for cutting department, right? So I put 20 here and I put 30 here. 30 from where I took from the table, right? So table they gave 20 for cutting department and 30 for what you call finishing department, right? If you do so, if you do in this way, what is the answer you will get? You will get something 25,000, right? Yeah, 25,000. What does 25,000 mean now? For one labor hour you are paying 25,000. For one labor hour you are paying 25,000, right? And your total budgeted fixed production overhead is 500,000. When you are finding an answer like that, you should understand the answer you are getting is wrong. This is total. 500,000 is your total fixed production overheads. Therefore, this one budgeted direct labor hours should be total. That is the important point you should understand in this chapter. When you are trying to calculate OAR, you have to put the total amount, not for a unit. So if you read the table again, the table is given for a unit. The table is given for a unit. So whenever you are putting some value like this, 20, 30 or one digit value like 9, 8, 5, something like that, your answer is wrong. Sure, it is wrong. Why? Because what you are trying to say is you have budgeted only 9 hours for a month. Your laborers are working only 9 hours per a month, which is wrong. So that is the point, right? So this is one of the mistakes generally students make in their final exam, right? So that is why I am emphasizing this point. 20 is wrong, 30 is wrong. 20 is for a unit. I need my total hours. It can be if there are 2 products, total. A product and B if we have 2 products. The total hours. Not for a product, not for a unit. So that is the important point here. This hours is not for one unit, not for one product if we have multi-product. It is for total hours. Not this one or this one, it is total. It is total hours we need, right? Because if we have some budgeted cost and if we are just dividing by per unit hours, entirely wrong, because this budgeted cost or budgeted fixed production overhead is the total, right? So if that is total, you have to divide by the total to get the value, not divide by per unit hours. So 20 is wrong. I need to find the total hours, right? Here we have only one product, 20 hours per one product, per one unit, and I am producing 1000 units. So that also given. That also given. So this is how much? 20 into 1000. 20,000. So if I divide that, I'll get 25 rupees per direct labor hour. Right? Yeah. Again, this one, 30 hours, and I am producing 1000 units. Only one product we have. If we have two products, we have to add both, right? We have to find the total hours. We have to find the total hours, not for a unit, not for a product, right? So 30,000. So we'll get the answer 30 rupees per machine hours. So this is the important point in this scenario. You should know to find OAR in different scenarios. They can give for a unit, they can give for a product, they can separate the product and give. So you should know what you are trying to find. You are finding the total, what you call direct labor hours for the cutting department. This is total, that is total, right? So 20 and 30, 25 and 30, now it's fine. So after OAR, what you have to do? You have to do the working. So I got answer 25 here and 30 here. This is cutting department and this is finishing, right? So their question is what cost per unit, but anyway, like after you do OAR, you have to do the working. So 25 into actual hours. This you have to multiply by actual hours, right? So you have to find the actual hours for product A in this department. So if you check the question, they didn't give any actual hours. So what do you have to do? So you have no other options, right? You have no other options. So what do you have to do? If they don't give actual hours, since you don't have any other options, right, you should use the budgeted again. It is only when they don't give the actual. It is only when they don't give the actual. Clear? That is important point. We are assuming that again. We are assuming that as actual and doing. It is only when they are not giving the actual hours. If they give so, we have to go with the normal standard process. So here I have to find the actual. So I'm just trying to find out actual, but that is not given. Therefore, I'm gonna go again with 20 hours in for cutting department direct labor hours, and this is again 30. So how much? 500, and this is 900. This is what? Absorbed. Right? Yeah. The next question, which is cost of product, right? So product A, we are producing product A, right? Yeah. Then direct material, direct labor, which is given in the question 1000 and 800. So I get 1800 as prime cost. Then you already found the absorbed overheads. So I would say absorbed overheads and two departments, cutting and finishing. And you have to show how you found it. So I write here 25 into 20, 200, so 25 into 20 and 30 into 30. So this is how much? 500 and this is 900, 3200. This is the production cost. Right, that is the answer for the third question or third scenario. So I'm just having the scenarios, not the question. So these are the different scenarios they can test. So in this scenario, what you understood or what you learned, to find the total. If they don't give the total, you have to find the total. The first point. Second point, if they don't give the actual, you can always go with the budgeted again in the absorbed OAS calculation. Right? Right. So this is the fourth scenario where they gave a table, right? So product A, product B, there are two products and there are two departments. Since there are two departments, we have to find two OAR. Since there are two departments and two products, we have to find four values for absorbed overheads, right? So this is one of the good question where you can understand the entire thing about the chapter, right? So first question is OAR again. So OAR, we have two departments again, cutting and finishing. Cutting department is based on what? So direct labor hours, and this is based on machine hours. So the equation is budgeted fixed production overheads divided by budgeted direct labor hours. This one budgeted fixed production overheads divided by budgeted machine. Fine. So budgeted fixed production overheads is given right in the question. So they said 900,000 and this department 500,000. How to get it? It is from the overheads analysis sheet. We had to find direct labor hours, budgeted direct labor hours. Cutting department is based on direct labors. So which one? Direct labor cutting. So cutting department is based on direct labor hours. Therefore, one department would base on only one base, right? It will have only one base. So cutting department is based on direct labor hours. So machine is not needed for cutting. So this part is not needed for the question at all, because cutting department is based on what? Direct labor hours. Likewise, finishing department is based on what? Machine hours. So this is not needed. So you have to exclude what you really don't need, because there are too many values here in this table. So you have to exclude the unwanted thing, then you can easily get the answers. Fine. So cutting department, direct labor hours. We are talking about budgeted. So actual is not needed. Right? Budgeted we have 2 and 4. Budgeted we have 2 and 4. So what do we have to do? Can we put 6 here? Can't. Why? 2 and 4 are per unit hours. For one unit they have budgeted like 2, and for one unit of B they have budgeted how much? 4. So we can't put 6 here. I told you already in the last question. This hours is total. It cannot be one digit value. It means if you put like that, it means your labors are worked only 6 hours. That's entirely wrong. So you have to find the total, right? So cutting department is produced 2 products A and B. You have to find the total. How to find the total? How to find the total? You have to find the total hours for A and B. Then you have to add both. So in this question, 2 is the hours for 1 unit. So A is 2 into 1000. This into this. Plus I am producing B as well. 4 into 2000. So 900,000 divided by 8, 10,000. So 90 rupees per direct labor hour. Right. Now second one. Second one is what? Finishing department, machine hours. So we have budgeted 4 and 8. This is not needed now. This is actual, right? Finishing, machine hours 4 and 8. You can't put 12 there because if you put 12 it means per unit. You can't put 4,000 only. Why? Again it means what? For only product A, but we are producing both. This 500,000 is the total cost for both products. I need the total machine hours in finishing department. Therefore, how to find? 4 into 1000 plus 8 into 2000. 4 into 1000, 8 into 2000. So 500,000 divided by 20,000. 25 per machine hour. This part is very important. There was a question they have tested almost similar in 2008, which is the best question so far to find the what you call OAR. Because in that question, because like the question we did already, right, where the question we have discussed, I gave total, right? I gave the total hours, so you can directly use it. In this question, in this question we didn't have what you call the total hours. We have hours per unit. We can't use that. Why? Because I need to find the total because my budgeted is total, right? So this question is important. Why? Because you should know how to use the information and to find the total hours. Right, the recent papers like last 3 papers, they give the total, so you can just really use it. But if they give questions like this, you should know what you really need and how to find it. Right, so this is OAR. So after OAR, what you do? We have to do the working. Right, we have 2 departments and I found OAR 90 and 25. So 90 and 25, this is OAR. And I have 2 products now. In this question we have 2 products, A and B. A and B. A and B. So what I had to put here, I had to put the actual, right? I had to put the actual per unit, actual hours per unit. So now tell me what is actual. This is what? Cutting department, direct labor. What is my actual? My actual is this one. So now I am using actual. Right. So this is 3. What is my actual for in cutting department for B? 2. So second one is 25 is what? Finishing department. What is my actual for A? 5. What is my actual for B? 6. So that is a working which make the next step easier, like you just have to find and fill it. Now you can get the answer, right? So this is 270, this is 180, 125 and 150. And you know these are for A and these are for B. So 95, 395 for A, 330 I think, right, for B. That is just a working because they won't check for how you did, how you found the answer. We are just doing this as a working to find for ourselves. And I'm gonna apply this for the question. The second question is cost of product for A and B. So production cost only they asked. So I had to find the production cost. Let's say I put here A and B I have direct material, direct labor, then prime, then absorbed overheads. We have two departments, cutting and finishing. And I already found the answers, but when you're doing a working, because that is what they're gonna for this only they're gonna give the marks, right? So when you're doing the working, you have to clearly show, right, how to find these values. Anyway, right, so direct material is 180, 240 is given, 420, then 300 and 360 is given, 660. So I found for A, I found how much? 270. You can show how to find it here, right? You can show some the working here being 19 to 3. Then I found 125, right? For the next one I found 180 and 150. So these are the production cost, right, for A and B. So if they have, let's say, if they have two departments and 3 products, what do? You have another column there. And how this working would be? 2 department, and you'll have another line here as a third product. Right, so OAR, then do the working and find the answers. So this is only production cost. If they give non-production, you can add that, or you can get this value production cost and put the production cost and add the non-production and get the total cost for a unit. Let's say if they are selling, if they are giving selling price, then you can get the total sales, right? You can get the total cost, then you can get the net profit. So this part is manufacturing. Non-production cost are income statement. Then you know how to find the net profit. You know how, if they give sales, you can find the sales, you can find the total cost, reduce the total cost from the total sales, and you can get the profit. So this is the answer for the fourth question or fourth scenario. These are scenarios where you should understand and understand and do the question. Right. So this is a summary of the chapter overhead costing. First, I have introduced overhead analysis sheet. So in overhead analysis sheet, we don't consider non-production cost, variable cost. Variable cost means direct material, direct labor and all. We are considering only what? Fixed production overhead. Why? Because we have the issue with the fixed production overhead, which we don't know for a unit, right? So we are preparing the overhead analysis sheet for the fixed production overhead. So if they give non-production cost, you should not consider that when you are preparing the overhead analysis sheet. Then we do the primary distribution. Then we have allocation, apportionment. Allocation means they will give the value for departments. They will divide, they will split and give. So we have just put it. Then apportionment. So in apportionment, you have to find the base and use the base and split the amount for the departments, right? Then secondary distribution or reapportionment means service department we have to transfer back to the production. Why we are doing so? Because service department, they don't produce the good, first thing. Second reason is service department exists to serve production department, right? So you have to transfer back the value to the production department. For that also they will give the base. It is not equal. They will give the base and you have to transfer back to the production department. So that is the first part, which is overhead analysis sheet. Once you're done with that, we are doing that for what? Fixed production overhead. What is our objective? Objectives are find the cost per unit and to identify the methods to reduce the cost, right? So those are the reason why we are having, why we are trying to find the cost for the department. That is fine. Right, so once we're done with that, we can easily divide by the number of units to get the cost per unit. Why? But we can't use that. Why? If we have multiple products, you get the same answer for both products, which is entirely wrong. They introduced OAR, overheads absorption rate. So in overheads absorption rate, we have 6 methods. Out of 6, 2 methods are important. So direct labor hours and machine hour. So what does direct labor hours mean? The number of hours worked by the people or direct employees who are directly linked to the product. Machine hours mean the number of hours machine operated, right? So we have two bases. Then we have unit base also there, so we have some assumption we are using that also as a basis, so that is fine. Then we have other three methods, which is direct material cost basis, direct labor cost basis, prime cost basis. I mean, these three are on percentage. Fine. So out of 6 methods, first 2 are important, others are not tested, but I gave one scenario to use other methods as well. Fine. So we will find the OAR. When you are finding OAR, what is important? When you are finding OAR here, when you are finding OAR, what is important? So these are the methods, right? So this is the calculation. So when you are finding OAR, what is important? So when you are doing calculation, if you have prepared the OAR's analysis sheet in 1000, you have to put 3 zeros again when you are doing the calculation, especially when you are doing OAR calculation. That is important point. Second one, hours, like by what you are going to divide. If they give the total, no issues. If they don't give the total, you have to find, because this is not for a unit. This is not per unit hours. This is not per product hours. If they have 2 products, both products are manufactured through this department. Therefore, this is total hours. You have to find the total hours in some questions. Total hours mean it includes all the products they are producing. If they are producing 2, if they are producing 3, the total hours in that specific department, right? Fine. So when you are finding OAR hours, you can sometimes, if they ask you to find, then you have to base on, which is more important. It based on what? The number of hours used. If first department, labors are used much, labors worked more hours, then we have to go with the labor hour basis, because that is important. The entire department is based on that, right? Likewise, if other department is based on machinery, the entire department is based on machine operation, right? So we'll go with the machine hour basis. Fine. So that is OAR. So once we're done with the OAR, one department will have only one OAR. One department will have only one OAR, because if we are trying to find 2 different OARs, it means you have one input and you're trying to give 2 outputs for the specific input. That is wrong. So once you're done with the OAR, we'll go with the absorbed overheads. Absorbed overheads calculation like this. If you find the OAR based on direct labor hours, you have to multiply by actual hours per unit for a unit. If you are finding OAR in machine hours, you have to multiply by actual hours per unit. If you are finding OAR in unit basis, then you can directly put as a absorbed overheads. That kind of question they don't test normally, right? Then direct material cost. So we'll get percentage here, all these 3, right? So if you get some percentage, then you have to multiply by the direct material for a product. Then you have this one, you have to multiply by the direct labor cost for a product. This one you have to multiply by the prime cost for a product. Then you'll get the absorbed overhead. So our task is finding absorbed overheads per unit, because we are having no issue with variable cost, we are having no issue with the non-production cost. We had the issue with what? We had the issue with the fixed production overhead. Because of that only we are doing all this working. The always analysis sheet, OAR, right, all this working. So our output is what? Finding that fixed production overhead for a unit. That is what we call absorbed overhead. So after all this calculation, this absorbed overhead include both budgeted and actual. Why? OAR is budgeted, right? This is actual. So that's why we are called this as the absorbed overheads. This is not just overheads, or this is not just production overhead. Why? Production overheads where? Production overheads we find from where? Manufacturing accounting. We are doing about future. We have the budgeted information, we are just matching with the actual for a unit, then we are getting absorbed overheads. That is fine. So that is the third step. So once we're done with that, then we have to find the total cost. So total cost, so for a production cost, we did the working for this, mean fixed production overhead. If they give the prime cost, we have to add that with the absorbed overheads. So you have to show the working here. What is the working? So I'll write here, right? So we will have OAR, let's say department 1 and department 2, Then we have like this. This is actual. Let's say I have two products A and B. Then I'll get absorbed. Overheads, I can put like this as well. This is for one product and this is for the other product. So that is a working we have, right? So this is the working we have to find the absorbed overheads. Fine. So once we're done with the absorbed overheads, we have to find the total cost. For the total cost, they will give the direct material and direct labor. You have to add your answers, add your findings, which is absorbed overheads with the direct cost. Then you'll get the total production cost for a unit. That is fine. Then they can ask you total cost as well, because this one is about production. This one is about production, right? We have non-production as well. What are the non-production? Non-production we can divide into fixed and variable. So if they give fixed and variable, you have to add that as well to find the total cost. So what is the difference between the production cost and the total cost? Production cost only includes the production related cost, which are prime cost, and the production overheads or absorbed overheads which we found. With that, we have to add the non-production cost to find the total cost, right? So that is the finding of total cost. Then profit calculation. Profit calculation, I have this working. It is not must to have the same working. If they ask you to find the profit, and if you know how to find the profit, if you have a working to find the profit, that is fine. So this is what I follow. I just go with the same method. Sales, I put the sales here. Then total cost, which I found from these workings, and I divided that into two, production and non-production. So I put the production cost and non-production cost, and then I will arrive at the profit. Then I will arrive at the profit. These workings depends on you. You can have your own working to find the answer. There's no standard method to prepare the format or something to find the profit. Why? Because this is managerial accounting, this is management accounting, this is not about the financial accounting. We don't have any standards to follow, right? So that is the final output. So these things you should know. This is compulsory question. So if you know the entire thing, if you understand entire thing in a standard way and in a, all these points, this is done. Because this chapter is 10 marks question. In past paper, they have tested almost all different scenarios. So if you practice more questions, if you do more questions, if you have different scenarios, so I gave 4 scenarios. So you may have different scenarios as well, right? If you have the basic understanding of the chapter, how to find OAR, what does it mean, what does it actually mean, and why we are using total hours, those understanding, if we have those understanding, you won't make a mistake. So this is the entire chapter of overhead costing. So in next video, I'll explain another chapter. Thank you guys.